Welcome to This Week in Money. I'm Jim Goddard. Today, Ross Clark from chartsandmarkets.com runs down the major markets, how crude fell from grace, and disappointing job creation numbers in the U.S. Josef Schachter from the Schachter Energy Report drills deep into oil and gas and tells us about his upcoming energy conference in Calgary. Trends Journal publisher Gerald Celente is red hot this time around and digs into the problems that could blow up the economy. Plus, right after the show, we'll have a company showcase update from American Manganese President Larry Reaugh. We'll talk to Ross Clark right after this.
Abin Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Abin's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abinresources.com.
Welcome to This Week in Money, the source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Ross Clark from chartsandmarkets.com, where you'll find insightful market commentary and timely technical analysis. Welcome back to This Week in Money, Ross.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Jim.
Again, a very interesting week on the stock markets, with the Dow Jones taking it on the chin midweek.
Yes, well, it ended up with one of the hardest breaks we've seen in quite a while. In terms of the Dow and the S&P, they managed to take out the highs that we put in during that August consolidation phase, got right down to test the support lines, and we saw a really good bounce into the close midweek, and then a follow through on Thursday, Friday. This is, it's all part of the big rolling top pattern that we are looking at. So this is just one step closer to taking out really important support. As long as the Dow manages to stay below, say 27,000 or so, then we would be clearly looking at this week's low as the important support level, and violating that, I think you could be looking for an increase in momentum to the downside. And here we are with, you're seeing interest rates dropping once again, which is so typical of what happens when an economy starts to slow down. And for all, we've got 3.5% unemployment level, which sounds like a good number. It's not matching expectations, and the non-farm payroll number at 130,000 is not low enough to really push the Fed to doing a quarter-point move on interest rates at their next meeting, but we'll probably see one into December. But the fact is that rates are going down, which is typical of when an economy is starting to slow down.
Crude oil, has it been disappointing recently?
Yeah, I'd say so. We had that $63 high 2 weeks ago based upon the situation in Saudi Arabia, and just came under concerted selling pressure day after day until the Thursday low this week. And that takes us from 63 down to 51 in terms of the price. Now it's an important level here at 51 because it's testing the support levels we've been seeing for, basically back since June. We were here in June, we were here again in August, and now. So that's one ingredient. The other thing is that we take a look at a moving average envelope. So you take a look at the price, and you put an envelope of 5% below that, 5% above that, and that can be a trading range that you stay within. And we got down and tested that in August, and we've done it again as of the last 24 hours. So it's a good level for support. And then from a timing perspective, we had 9 consecutive days of selling into this Thursday, and that's usually seen by a good 1 to 4 day bounce on the minimum. So looking at oil, you're probably looking back towards something into the $56 to $57 range on a bounce. But here the big caveat is that because the stock market and the oil market tend to have, I'd say a 90-95% correlation. If the equity market can't get up and going here and it gets halted at this resistance level at 27,000 or under on terms of the Dow, if it starts to roll over there and break down, then you're looking at clearly sub 50 as far as oil is concerned before we can put in the next important low. So for the short-term traders, there's an opportunity here for a bit of a bounce, but I think that for anybody looking at it longer term, and we still have our 10-year cycle that we're monitoring, which looks for a high in the second half of next year. So I think you want to be looking at the window from here through December for a really good opportunity. But this is the one for the nimble traders.
Ross, thank you so much for being on the show.
Always a pleasure.
My guest has been Ross Clark from chartsandmarkets.com. If you have any questions for Ross or any of our other guests, of course, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Coming up, we're going to have an extensive look at the energy markets with Josef Schachter next on This Week in Money.
Always consult your investment professional before making any investment decision.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
This Week in Money is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Welcome back. I'm speaking with Josef Schachter, founder of SchachterEnergyReport.ca. Welcome back to This Week in Money, Joseph.
My pleasure, Jim. Good to be with you.
Joseph, you'll be holding your second annual Schachter Energy Conference in Calgary, Saturday, October 19th. Just exactly what is the conference about? How many people are going to be there? Or do you have any special deals for our listeners?
Yeah, this is our second annual conference that we've held here in Calgary. We're holding it this year at Mount Royal University on Saturday, October 19th. As you mentioned, there'll be 25 companies presenting to the individual investors there. The sessions are about 45 minutes, so they have half an hour to tell you who they are, where they're going, and what they're, where the upside is potentially for the company. We have large companies coming like Vermilion, Bonavista, Birchcliff, Painted Pony on the E&P side, and names like Trican and Step and High Arctic and others that are on the service sector. And people can just go to our website, www.SchachterEnergyReport.ca/conference, and they can see the information. We're really getting full up. Our general tickets are all taken up. Most of the VIP tickets, which also includes lunch with the company. So if you are involved in a company like High Arctic or Surge or Vermilion or any of the other names, you get a chance to sit down with the company. We have very few seats left in that, but if people would like to come, we still can allocate them, but not the most popular large companies. Those are all taken down already. And then the next part of the conference is where we have an afternoon session with indigenous leaders, which are in favor of the energy industry. We always hear about the negatives. We don't really hear about those that are supportive of it, which are many more, and why they want to own a piece of TMX. So it gives investors a chance to sit down with individual companies to hear. I'm going to do an overview piece at the start, and then there's going to be the sessions, as mentioned, and then at the end of the afternoon, we're going to have the indigenous session. So people can go to the website and sign up. There's hotel nearby, Grey Eagle, where people can stay if they're coming in from out of town. And we have right now the tickets still available. Some of them VIP are still level, and a special offer to your people, and they can use the promo code. The promo codes for the other one. For the VIP tickets, they can get those for $149, and then for the special, we have what we're calling the basic breakout tickets, which give people tickets or seating to go to the individual company presentations, also the luncheon, and then space availability for the afternoon Indigenous session. But my session is full up, and the VIP portion is full up. Those tickets are for $69, and when they ask you for the promo code, you should put in lowercase "this week in money." So THISWEEKINMONEY when you're prompted, and then that'll give you the advantage of those the lower prices for your listeners.
Now, as you mentioned, the Aboriginal session. Why is it seems to be the Aboriginal groups along the Trans Mountain Pipeline route are all looking forward to it because they thought this is going to mean a lot of jobs and finally some financial stability. The people opposing it live 1,000 miles away. Is that disappointing when the actual people on the ground affected by it are looking forward to it and others are in the way?
Yeah, the ones that are in Alberta, of course, are very supportive. The ones in the eastern part of BC are very supportive. But as you get down to the Pacific Ocean, some of the the First Nations there that are not exactly on the line, or even if they are on the line and they're concerned about the waterways, those groups are still need to be brought on side to the supporting of the pipeline. One of the options is, of course, is to have them not only become actively involved in making sure the environment is taken care of, but having them as owners. So as owners of part of the pipeline, who especially the ones that are close to the Pacific Ocean, those would be the ones that that need to be persuaded. Number one, that the ownership is helpful to them in jobs wise, etc. But two, that they will have strong say in anything to do on the environment to make sure that everything is taken care of properly, and that they're there with mediation if necessary. But remember, pipelines and moving of oil by double-hulled tankers is the safest way of moving oil around the world. And outside of quite a few years ago, with Exxon in Alaska, there hasn't really been any major disruptions. And since then, we've put in a lot of new and tougher standards, including the double-hull tankers. So my view is that everybody can be brought on side. And remember, the key thing is we want to ship our cleaner oil and our natural gas to Asia, and they hopefully will stop using dirty coal. That will be a major impact on carbon emissions to the planet, and that rather than try to do micro changes within Canada, this change of getting rid of dirty coal makes a massive changes. Anybody who's gone to Shanghai or Beijing or Thailand or any to Bangkok, the air quality in Malaysia, other countries is so horrible. Removing coal will make such a big difference that the planet is a win, and of course Canada would be a winner.
What's new with the Schachter report?
Yeah, well, we've added a number of new companies, which has really been beneficial. A lot of people have looked for us and suggested, will you cover this company or that company? So we've added some new companies, and we continue to look at adding new ones over time. I think that the results for Q3, which will be starting to come out in the next 2 weeks, are going to be disappointing, as well as probably Q4. But I think 2020 will see a lot better result. Historically, if we have a weak sector, tax loss selling is pretty lousy, as it was last year in November and December. So I'm looking to maybe add a couple more companies during the latter part of the year, and especially ones that are being decimated by tax loss selling. And I think that 2020 is the year that we see prices moving over US $75 a barrel, and that's going to be how we wake the industry up. In addition, there'll be more egress takeaway capacity for natural gas, also more domestic demand, because TransAlta is shutting down their coal-fired facilities and moving towards natural gas-fired. And then you saw the Suncor announcement that they're going to be building a cogen facility up in the north in oil sands country so that they can stop burning the oil, and that would have a major impact on emissions as well. That will add another big increase in demand. And then in 2023, 2024, LNG Canada Phase 1 comes on, and it's possible we may even see an announcement of Phase 2 before the end of the year. That all will help to improve the situation on natural gas.
Is the price of oil a reflection on the health of the world's economy?
In some ways it is, because, the higher the price, the stronger the economy, until, of course, it becomes a detriment because the price is too high, as it was in Q2 of 2008 at $147. But right now at, $52 or so, the industry, the economy can handle it. When we did see that spike up to 63 when the Iranian attack against Saudi Arabia's Opec facilities, scared people about the security of supply. Since then, we've seen a U.S. build in inventory. We've seen the slowdown from the shoulder season where demand is a little bit softer and the price of crude is backed off to the low 52 range. My expectation is that we will probably stagnate in the low 50s until we get into winter, and then in winter 2019, 2020, we're going to see prices improve. I think in the, back over 60, and I think in the second half of 2020 we'll be in the $70 to $80 range. That is where you're going to see the stocks react very positively to. So from the tax law selling the season low that we'll see at the end of this year, there's going to be some tremendous buys, and we intend to send out action alert buy recommendations to our subscribers, letting them know that this is bargain basement levels and that these companies, number one, are survivors, and number two, will be very successful in a much higher price environment.
Do interest rates play a role in the price of oil and gas?
Well, interest rates are so low, I don't think it matters, except for the borrowing costs of the companies. Many of them have balance sheets where they have a lot of debt and they're paying some pretty expensive for their debt. But, government interest rates being as low as they are and negative interest rates in Europe really have no impact on the price of energy at all.
Does a lower or higher Canadian dollar provide stimulus to the Canadian oil and gas industry?
Well, historically, when you have weaker commodity prices, we have a weaker Canadian dollar, as we're seeing right now. But as we see stronger oil prices north of $100 for WTI, we historically have had a Canadian dollar around parity with the U.S. or even higher. So if you go back to 2014, you could probably remember we had a much higher Canadian dollar than today. So it's one where we're a commodity exporting nation, and when the commodity prices are doing well, lumber, all kinds of base metals, precious metals, then we do well, and we have a much stronger Canadian dollar. But right now, between our deficits and also lower commodity prices, the Canadian dollar, some people think, might go down to the low 70s, 72, 73 from 75. I think that is potentially what could happen before we enter winter of 2019, 2020, stronger oil demand and natural gas demand, and then prices might recover, and maybe we finish the year around the same level we are today on the Canadian dollar.
What do the recent drone attacks in Saudi energy facilities mean for the price of crude?
Longer term, I think it's a massive impact because it shows now that the Iranians have the technical capability to evade the defensive radars that Saudi Arabia has and also the other OPEC countries nearby. And if they're being sanctioned and not allowed to sell their oil, they may, use the Houthis as they did this time as the ones to blame for it. But they have the skill set where they can fire at, Kuwait or UAE or Saudi Arabia again. And again, if they do sufficient damage that you remove capacity for any length of time, you now have to include a risk premium. Going back a few months ago, I had thought that when we got into the shoulder season between now, and winter, or September and winter, we would see crude oil prices fall off to 44 to 48 U.S. Now I think we may just get to the low 50s and stagnate there. The low so far we've seen, I think, is about $50 or so over the last year, 52 or so. And I think we'll get down there, and we're, just $2 away from that right now. But I think that you need to have a risk premium in, and if there is any other attacks and any substantial damage to facilities that take some time to repair, that is one of the things you could argue in favor of $70, $80 oil or even $100 oil plus, if the period of time to repair the facilities has any extensiveness to it.
Any possibility the Saudis might have attacked themselves just to boost the price of oil?
Well, the Americans say they've shown the British, the French, and the Germans satellite data showing that it came from both Iran and also from Iraqi territory where Iranian-backed insurgents or Iranian-backed soldiers are. So I think that kind of negative speculation is not realistic.
We'll have more with Josef Schachter right after the break.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
This Week in Money is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Josef Schachter. Joseph, what is OPEC doing?
Well, OPEC right now is producing, just enough to meet the demand that we need for, the fall season. They're going to have to start increasing production at some point because we need to see, the volumes because demand rises from the fall of about 98 million to maybe 102, 103 in the wintertime. So you want to have adequate storage both in the consuming nations and in the producing nations so that you can put on more production to meet the peak winter demand. As I mentioned to you when we talked in the last segment, the Canadian dollar has a history when you have strong oil prices of being high. In the last time we had $100 oil in 2013, 2014, the Canadian dollar had reached a high of, I think it's 105, 106 to the U.S. dollar. So, the low was when we had $26 oil, the Canadian dollar was at 68 cents, and now we're in the 75 cent level based on, $52 oil. So, the Canadian dollar is very sensitive to the commodity price, and especially the commodity price for oil. I think that kind of covers that.
Is it getting tougher to discover conventional oil wells?
Oh, yeah, much tougher. The industry on the shales is able to find quite a bit, and it's a manufacturing game. And of course, the lowest cost producers and the lowest, and the wells where there's the sweet spots, they're bringing on significant new liquids production, condensate, for the Montney play, for example. There's oil areas and there's also condensate-rich areas. But the key thing is that conventional legacy oil has decline rates that are much less than the 60, 70, 80% that the shale plays have. So on an overall basis worldwide, outside of the government-owned oil, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, other countries, we're not replacing our decline rates because we're not finding enough conventional oil to take, and so the reserve life indices are shrinking. That's part of the bull case that I have, saying that in the outlier years, 3, 4, 5 years from now, there's a big case for arguing in favor of north of $100 WTI because of the shrinking reserve life indices and most importantly, proved, developed, producing, which of course you don't need to spend any more money on. Those reserve lives now are between 3 and 4 years, which means you have a very tough treadmill, and the industry is not spending enough money to offset it.
We'll have more with Josef Schachter right after the break.
Cypress Development Corp is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cyprusdevelopmentcorp.com.
This Week in Money is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Josef Schachter. Joseph, are seasonalities coming into play for crude oil and natural gas?
Yeah, historically we get the best pricing during the winter, especially for natural gas. So Canadian natural gas now is trading, I think $1.20 or $1.30 in MCF. Historically in winter you can see, especially when we have those real bad cold spells in January, February, we could get up over $5 in MCF. So the industry, for natural gas is going into the best season. We've had snow in Calgary and pretty cold weather, but it's warmed up again. But if you head into November, December, we get, significant cold spells. We should see those commodities take off, and that would be a big help. And then on oil, it's really a demand issue. So if we have, the winter cold, that helps because people will be using more distillate fuels, heating fuels. And then, of course, if the Saudi Arabia production and the OPEC production numbers stay below what the draw is or what the demand is from them, that will tighten up inventories and keep prices firm. So I'm optimistic that we're going to be seeing, $60 to $70 oil this winter from, December of this year through February of 2020, and that will be a lift to the industry.
Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada wants to use Article 92.10 of the Constitution to build pipelines across the country. Would that be good for the oil and gas sector?
I think the answer is yes, but the likelihood of, number one, him being the prime minister and his party being in power, I think, are minuscule. And the other thing is, remember, provincial rights are a big part of this, and Quebec has been very vociferous that they don't want pipelines going through. So again, as we've seen from Andrew Scheer, he would like to have a corridor which would move not only oil and gas, but power, electric power, and others. And so maybe there can be some dialogue with all of the provinces, especially those in eastern Canada, that are importing oil from countries that are not friendly to the environment and also have human rights issues that are glaringly awful. And so if we can find in our goodwill in Canada, like we did to build the national railroad system and of course other things in Canada that were needed for the national growth, that is going to be a key. And I'd like to see that the new government or after the election is supportive of the energy industry. If we end up, what would be the worst case in my book for the energy industry would be a liberal minority government, where the Green Party has sufficient number of seats that they provide the Liberals with a working majority government. That would be the worst situation for the Canadian energy industry. And I would be very, very disappointed, and most of the people in Alberta would be very disappointed with such a outcome.
Well, you take a look at British Columbia, where the Greens hold sway the balance of power in this province, and it's done nothing but hold up economic development all over the place.
Yeah, and the NDP government has a problem because they only have a small majority, and so they are at the beck and call of the opposition parties that are supporting them. But again, there's going to be elections in BC at some point, and if the economy gets worse, Western BC has almost a different approach to the Eastern BC in terms of supporting resource industries. So, and I think it'll be an interesting political battle when you have the next election in BC.
Has the Alberta economy been negatively affected by the prices of oil and gas?
Yes, massive deficits. 200,000 jobs lost in Calgary. In the head office, the engineering, the financial side of the oil patch. Over 250,000 jobs probably in the service sector in the province of Alberta. Royalty revenues for the government have come down. Housing prices are probably the weakest that I've seen them in the last few years. They're down over the last 2 years probably by 10-20%. And it's a bargain, to come and live in Alberta in terms of real estate compared to Vancouver or Toronto, etc. We need to see natural gas prices in the $2.5–3 minimum range sustainable. And, oil prices, if they get to 70 or 80, can make a big difference to the province. So I'm in the camp that, we may have another 6 months of pain in terms of economic conditions in Alberta, but that once we start seeing higher oil prices and higher natural gas prices, that trickle-down economic effect will help the government on the revenue side, and also the companies will have more cash flow so that they can not only service their debt, but they can start growing their business and then, of course, hiring more people.
Is the growth of oil and gas production in the U.S. hurting the Canadian oil and gas industry?
Very much so, because the U.S. has gone from 6 million barrels a day to about 12.4 million because the shale plays have come on big time. And so Canadian production, which, could fill the demand in the States, especially on the Gulf Coast, we're not seeing much growth. I think we're about 3.4 million barrels a day, and that number is pretty flat over the last year. More rail car capacity is coming on. Maybe the Trans-Canada XL pipeline might get a go-ahead, a year from now by Trump if he wins the election. But all the pipeline issues and everything else and the fact that the U.S. is bringing on significant new production and also becoming an exporter. The U.S. Because the Permian and the Eagle Ford are light oil, the refineries down there are built to handle heavy crudes. So the U.S. is now exporting, as of the data from the EIA on Wednesday, 2.9 million barrels a day, and that's up from 1.7 million barrels a year ago. And that's all because of the light oil can't be used and refined in the U.S., so it's being sold and exported around the world. Again, we have heavy oil, which could be used by those refineries on the Gulf Coast. But longer term, there's an issue. When those refineries do their upgrades, will they add new capacity for heavies, or will they say, look, 500 miles away we have a large amount of domestic production that's probably even owned by the same refiners, and that's likely where the growth will go to the domestic light oil in the U.S., and longer term we will have lost some of our market share because of these egress issues and the inefficiency of using rail versus pipelines.
When you invest in oil and gas stocks, do you bet on the jockey or on the horse?
I think what you do is you buy the companies where you have a number of ingredients. One, where you have strong management that's executed in the past and knows how to run an energy efficient company and a successful exploration company. Two, you want to have the projects. You want to have projects that have scalability, where they can grow the company from nothing to 5,000, 10, 20, 50,000 BOEs a day. And then lastly, that they have the financial sophistication and financial stability, where they have the funds so that they can grow the company. One of the problems right now is that a large number of companies have balance sheets that are negative positioned, and so a large amount of the cash flow is there to service the debt. And of course, the debtors are concerned, the creditors are concerned about the debtors, and we're seeing companies having trouble and negotiating with their debtors. With their creditors, and the big issue is these low commodity prices have made it very difficult for companies to not only pay the ongoing interest, but then not having the ability to replace their decline rates. And so the lenders are now saying, how do we get paid back? Not how do we help you grow and make money as debtors and equity owners. So it's a bit tougher out there. So when you ask what my focus is, I like to own the dividend model companies, because those companies not only are generating sufficient cash flow to service their debt, grow their production moderately, but also to pay a dividend. And so you're getting paid while you wait for the higher oil prices. And there are a number of those companies that will be attending our conference and presenting. So again, if investors are looking to come while these prices are so low for the sector, you can come and meet managements from Vermilion, from companies like Birchcliff, from companies like High Arctic, companies like Razor Energy, that are all companies that have decent or high dividend yields. Surge Energy, which are in some cases, exceeding 10%, which is shocking that companies in the oil patch can be paying that high a dividend and are being ignored by the market because they're skeptical that those dividends are sustainable, and in most cases I believe they are sustainable because the companies have strong balance sheets, and at these commodity prices their costs are so low that they can return to shareholders that kind of money. And again, if we see $100 oil 2-3 years from now and $70 oil next year, some of these companies should be able to even raise their dividends in the second half of 2020.
Is the economic downturn in China having an effect on the prices of crude and natural gas?
It is, because on the crude side, because they now have built up their storage, which they were doing over the last couple of years, so that they had sufficient strategic reserves. Now it's a question of the demand, and with the car sales slowing down in China, especially, that's hurting them. The other thing is, because of the imports and the trade war with the United States, they're not as keen to be buying U.S. LNG, so they're using more of their own coal, which of course is not good for the environment and not good for the air quality in many of their cities. But with the battle going on between Trump and China, it's a negative that will continue until that is resolved.
Well, trade wars with China heat up. Where is China getting most of its oil and gas from?
Well, China gets a lot of it from the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is a big producer in there. They also have, Australia produces some. There's Indonesia is a decent-sized, producer, and of course, they can get oil from the Middle East and from a number of countries there. So, also Russia's becoming a bigger and bigger provider, and that shipping distance from the east coast of Russia, and also they're building a lot more pipelines of both gas and oil from eastern Russia and in Siberia to China. So China, between Saudi Arabia and Russia, those are the two biggest providers of energy to China at this time.
In general, do oil and gas companies in Alberta or Texas tend to give the best return for shareholders?
I think you have to look more company specific. I think both do well for shareholders when you have a positive cycle. When you have a bad cycle, both areas, both countries have companies that are balance sheet constrained or inefficient in terms of their operations. So I would say that in a good cycle, you can make money as well in both countries. So the question is, know your company, know the areas, and be comfortable. There's many Canadian companies that operate in the United States, so you can get a feel for the cost structure. And some of them have done quite well in the States over time.
When you're looking at possible oil and gas stocks to invest in, do you use fundamentals and or charts?
I have an accounting background, accounting degree designation, and also a CFA. So the numbers matter first. But I was taught by a very noted technician, a friend named Leon Toohey, that you got to look at the charts too. So not only do you look at the fundamentals and see the numbers and see where value is, but then you want to look at how people perceive value, and that's what you can find out from the charts. So I have a healthy respect for both, and as a checklist item, after the fundamentals are all in place, prior to saying buy, I look at the charts.
As the demand grows for electric vehicles, are major oil and gas companies likely to invest in that sector?
Yeah, the multinationals historically have been interested, the Shells, the BPs, the Exxons, where they can be involved, maybe in the battery side of it, or maybe, of course, the battery, the power, recharging stations. You're hearing many companies talking about, you've got gas stations already, you've got the facilities there, why not turn them into electric vehicle charging stations? So I would bet the big multinational integrated companies, those that have refining and marketing operations, are likely to end up in that area, not on the manufacturing side, but in providing the power to the electric vehicles.
As solar energy becomes more affordable, are the major oil companies going to invest in that sector?
Again, it's the multinationals that I think are looking at that. Again, they want to have the power and then be able to distribute the power, and that's one of their strengths. So my guess is that they would be the ones to look at it. The normal Canadian E&P company is not likely to be involved.
How can people find out more about the Schachter Energy Report and your special conference offer?
Well, we have a fabulous website that our people have worked on, and it's www.Schachter, SCHACHTER, energyreport.ca, and they can go in there and find out, number one, about subscribing to the service. We have 2 reports that come out every month, an interim report and then the SCR monthly, and then we do quarterly webinars, and our next one will be in November. And then, of course, this big once-a-year annual conference, which I recommend people, if they've successfully invested in energy before, or they see the low prices and great valuations, please come to the conference. We have a fabulous mix of companies between the largest, names like Vermilion and Tourmaline, all the way down to companies that are producing 5,000-10,000 BOEs a day, In-Play, Razor, Sequence, and then also the service sector for the industry, both on the fracking side, the drilling side. So please consider coming. As I mentioned earlier, the general tickets are gone. There still are some VIP tickets, but now we have this special last phase because we had such a strong demand that we found a way to have more attendees, and that is, of course, these basic breakout tickets, which you can find on the website.
Josef, thank you so much for being on This Week in Money.
My pleasure as well, Jim, and you take good care, and hopefully if your people do come out, have them please come up, and I'll be at my booth and also in presentations, and they can come up and please say hello and let me know that they're listeners to This Week in Money.
My guest has been Josef Schachter, founder of the Schachter Energy Report, which you can find online at SchachterEnergyReport.ca. He was speaking to us from the proud city of Calgary. Coming up, a steaming, red-hot Gerald Celente, next on This Week in Money.
Grand Portage Resources' Herbert Gold Project in southeast Alaska highlights increased gold resource, indicated and inferred, of 860,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams per ton gold. Expansion drilling is planned on the Herbert Gold property for the summer of 2019. Grand Portage Resources trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
This Week in Money is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
My guest is Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal, available online at trendsjournal.com. He's speaking to us from historic Kingston, New York. Gerald, it's great to have you back on This Week in Money.
Well, thanks for having me.
Gerald, the newest version of the Trends Journal is out. What's the biggest trend you're following right now?
Oh, a lot of them. We've gone from a monthly to a weekly. Because events are happening so fast, we have to get the information out quicker to our subscribers. And I've been at this now for going on 40 years. And I've never seen a freak show like this in my life. What a disgusting spectacle. What a bunch of low-life human beings. They call them presidents and prime ministers, chancellors. Look at the freaks and fools that are running and ruining our lives. Which one do you like best? I like Trump. I think save your crap. I don't want to hear it. I like Biden. I think he's okay. Shove it. How could you respect any of these people? Could you imagine them going to you? Listen, Jim, you're out in the street. I want you to do this. You go get it. In a flash, you would tell him to go F himself. But they play president, prime minister, and chancellor, and they roll out the red carpet. These guys get dressed up in military drag. Everybody salutes. The band plays on. Look at this freak show. How could any self-respecting human being allow these murderers and thieves to destroy our lives? I gotta explain what's going on. What, you want more numbers? You want more data? I mean, I do the data all the time. Got all the numbers. The numbers add up to craziness right in front of us. Where's the future going? It's going down the toilet. And you got a bunch of shitheads flushing it down.
And of course, here in Canada, we're right in the middle of an election campaign.
Another little boy of nothing. A little boy born on third base and thought he had to hit a home run. Another guy with an attitude. It's a show. That's all this guy is. He's a two-bit actor like the rest of them. Look, we got the champion of The Apprentice. A reality show champion is running America. You got it? I got to explain it? So you were saying, I'm sorry, I cut you off. What you were going to say about Trudeau, the little low-life boy?
No, I just said we're in the middle of an election campaign, and it's, you get to compare the impossibilities they promise. And they can't or won't deliver.
You know why they can't and won't deliver? Because they're pathological liars. They're pros at being liars. I just went through one. I had a high-level pro pathological liar screw me. And that's all these people are. They make promises and they never deliver. Like a pathological liar. You make promises and you never deliver. And even when you don't deliver on them, you keep lying about the crap and saying that you delivered it. Even when it never shows up. I know what a pathological liar is. I've had one. I have one firsthand, and they're all around us, from the bottom to the top. And we got the top of pathological liars running and ruining our lives. If they continue on the road they're going on, we're going to all die quicker from living in misery and them dumping poison all over us, shoving. You got to take this injection. Don't you know who I am? I run Big Pharma. Yeah, the baby just came out of your womb. I don't give a damn. I got studies that say, shoot that kid up with all these pharmaceutical chemicals that just came out of your womb. And I gotta swallow that crap, and if I don't, my kid can't go to public school that I pay for. One thing after another. One thing after another. They're killing us. You're worried about climate change? Guess what? By the time the climate changes, you're gonna be dead a long time. The way they're poisoning us is, these, sulfates and XQR 3973 is just fine for you. It doesn't hurt the earth. I used to be a government affairs specialist for the chemical industry. I was getting environmental legislation killed at the height of the environmental movement. I've been with Reagan. I've been with princes. I know what it is. If you haven't been there, don't tell me. People better wise up and stand up. Because this thing, it's going down quick. We're going into the greatest depression. It's going to be totally out of hand. Totally out of hand. You think there's a homeless problem now? Oh yeah, don't like it down there in L.A. and San Diego? Oh, and up in San Francisco? It's going to triple, quadruple when this greatest depression hits. Oh, you think you got a migrant problem now? Oh yeah, they want to leave South America and Africa and look for a life? Oh, you think it's bad now? Wait till the greatest depression hits.
Well, we're into October, and are you concerned about the stock markets?
Of course I am. I'm concerned about everything. Look, go back to when Clinton was getting impeached. You saw the markets do almost a correction. Went down over 19 points. 19%. 19 points. 19%. So now you have the markets that are already overvalued. You got a PE ratio of 26 when 16, 17 is normal. They're due for correction. And now you got the stupid, moronic, dumbo craps. We're going to go after this guy Trump. We got to win that election. So here's what we're going to do. We got a little flunky in there, a little low-life piece of crap that's going to tell us, what he said to that guy, and he wanted to get Joe Biden's kid, because he wants to get Biden out of the way in case Biden gets in the way for the race to the White House. Oh yeah, Hunter Biden. I wrote about this in the Trends Journal in 2014. Who the hell is Hunter Biden? I'm hunting for free dough. My daddy is VP. Oh, I'm an expert in energy. Oh, and I've been to Ukraine. You saw, hey, hang out there. All of a sudden, he's on the board of Burisma Energy, the largest energy company and private energy group in Ukraine, at $50,000 a month, $3 million, according to what I've read. I know the 50,000. I wrote about it then. Oh, and who was the other guy? Oh, Biden was only vice president. They overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine. It's all in I was writing about this as it was happening. And now they're going after Trump because they're seeing which crook is crookedest, which is the sleaziest. No, it's going to put pressure on the markets. The markets are already overvalued. And now, because there's nothing to juice them up anymore, this thing's going to go down hard. So we have to stop this. And the people better rise up. Look what's going on in Hong Kong. They're fighting against a government of 1.4 billion people because the people know that their lives will be over when the Chinese take over Hong Kong the way they want. They will lose all their freedoms. Why do you think they're so anti-Chinese? Because they couldn't stand it, all those Hong Kong people, when the Chinese came over there and threw their attitude on them, when they were buying up all this stuff. And here in the United States, here's a place with 7.4 million people. We have 326 million people here. They're out by 2 million out of 7 million. And you get 1 million people out for put a pink pussy hat on, and it's big news for one day. And that was a number of years ago. So where are the people? The people better stand up and find the courage within them to turn this around before we go down. Because this is going down. And if you don't believe me, tune in to ABC, CBS, NBC. Hey, how about Fox? Oh yeah, they'll Fox you, all right. So people know what's going on. They wouldn't be listening to your show or listening to me. And those are the people that could change it. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men and women, Samuel Adams. So, hey, if you don't believe Samuel, keep following orders.
Is the volatility in the gold and silver markets bullish?
Yes. It's bullish. Yeah, go up. It's all going down. Currencies aren't worth crap. You talk about Bitcoin? What the hell makes them any different than Bitcoin? They're in worse shape than Bitcoin. Oh, they got $270 trillion worth of debt? Fake money? Oh yeah, hold on to it. You'll love it.
Is the U.S. dollar going to get stronger?
Yeah, because the other ones are so weak.
Oil in the Middle East, where do you think we're headed?
Oh, when they go to war, if the people don't stop it, you'll see oil skyrocket beyond prices you won't believe. And if we have peace, we'll see oil prices go back down to the 50, 60 mark and stay there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's the fair market price for oil where it should be?
Yeah, because there's so much supply and demand is slowing down because of the recession that's hitting the world.
How bad do you think that recession's going to be?
I told you, it's going to be the Greatest Depression. It doesn't happen all at once. It's just like when you die. You get the symptom of cancer, and then it starts getting worse, and then worse, and then worse, and then worse, and then you die. So that's what we were in. We're in the first we're in the first stages of this economic cancer that these sick people created with their fake money and pumping up more and more so the billionaires could become multi-trillionaires. And the multinationals would become bigger and everybody could become a slave on the multinational plantation of Slavelandia. They'll do anything they can to keep propping it up. They start wars. You think the United States, Canada, Australia, UK, UK, would have started all those wars in Iraq and Libya against Iran. Now they're going after Venezuela. If their major export was broccoli and not oil, they're greedy people that want to just keep making more and more money, and they don't care who they kill and what they do to make it. So there's where oil prices are going. You got a volatile situation over there in the Middle East. Look at the guy, the crown prince. People salute this guy. Yeah, salute. Yeah. And nobody talks about the murder going on in Yemen. Nobody. That the Saudis created. Then the United States and Canada, and I'm not sure about Canada. I know UK sold the weapons to murder the people. So that's where oil prices are going. If war breaks out there, it'll be the Third World War. It'll be the one that Einstein, when they asked him, how will the Third World War be fought? He said, I don't know. He said, but the fourth will be fought with sticks and stones. And that's where we're going.
We'll have more with Gerald Celente right after the break.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com. This Week in Money is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Gerald Celente. Gerald, the great interest rate debate. Are we on the road to zero or negative rates in North America?
Zero, negative, both. As long as they could get away with it. Think about it. They're making money cheaper. Negative rates. You're able to borrow money and you don't have to pay to borrow it? Yeah, just get it out there. 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 I want more. I want more. They're addicts. There's cocaine addicts. There's opiate addicts. There's money addicts. There's alcohol addicts. There's smoking addicts. They're just addicts. But they're addicts at the biggest game. The game of life and death, murder and war. Make any money any way we can make it. They don't care how. You need any proof? How about, they have impeachment things going on about Trump? Yeah, he talked to this guy, and he wanted to, about Joe Biden. How about bringing George W. Bush up on trial for war crimes? And lowlife Blair over there for starting wars based on lies that everybody knew, I knew, and many others did, and I wrote about it as it was happening. How about bringing them up on trial?
Are you bullish on America?
No, I'm not bullish on anything right now. Do I sound bullish? I mean, come on. How could I be bullish when I got this freak as president and I got a whole line of other freaks that want to take his place? How can I be bullish? Unless you believe in what Trump just said, bullshit. Look at it.
Are you bullish on Canada?
No, not with the criminal group running the show. What does it take to call people criminals when they're really criminals? I just went through a whole list of wars, we had just some of them, that America's gotten into, slaughtering innocent people, killing their own children to go do it. I'm Vietnam War age. I was there. I did everything to beat the draft. I was too stupid to know that the war was illegal, disgusting, horrible, murderous act caused by liars. But I'm a little guy, 5'7.5", I'm looking at these guys walking through water up to their chest, holding these guns over their heads with 50 pounds of weight on their back. I could never do that and get shot at. So I beat the draft.
Bullish on Canada.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, no, I'm not bullish on Canada. Again, I went into the wars that they fought and they're doing. And so I'm saying people have to call these people the murderers that they are and the thieves that they are. How can I be bullish? And how can anybody be bullish? Unless you believe, as Trump said, bullshit.
Ukraine looks to be ground zero for investigating crimes before, during, and after the 2016 election. With a cooperative government now in place in Ukraine, are we likely to see arrests and trials in the U.S.?
Mean nothing. It'll mean nothing. Yeah, it's little garbage in the big picture. And shows you, but it's a piece of garbage that people should look at and understand very closely, because this impeachment is going to divert people's attention from the real important news and information, particularly if they stay stupid and stay tuned in to the mainstream news. It means nothing on the grander scale. Again, the poisons that they're putting in our food, the poisons that they're putting into the air, the poisons they want to force into our bodies. Look what people have become. Take a look at the picture. Picture of Canada, take a picture of America. Look at the obesity rates. Look at the big deal now, getting on airplanes, because people don't want to go on because, it's ain't a happy trip anymore. So we have to look at the big picture. So in thinking about all these issues, these are diversionary issues. And so I'm saying this because I want the people to understand that it's an addiction to get caught up into their lies. And they have to look for the truth by staying tuned to stations like yours and others, and mine, so that we're not caught up in this. Ukraine counts for nothing on the grand scale of what's going on with China. Yeah, 1.4 billion people. And they have weapons, they'll wipe you out before you could blink your eye. And they're ready to take over.
Why do the Democrats want to get rid of Trump so badly?
Because they want to put their own freak in there. It's a fight. That's the number one story in our Trends Journal. Round one, the greatest freak show on earth.
Is the Democrat leadership race likely to be rigged again?
The whole thing's a rigged game. I'm going to read to you. This is the top story in our Trends Journal that is now a weekly. The Presidential Reality Show Championship, Round 1. It was late September 2019. August was long forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, step right up. Live from the United States of America, the land of the exceptionals, step right up. It's the greatest freak show on earth, starring America's top 2 lowlifes, fighting it out to see who's the sleaziest. In this corner, from the double-dealing state of Delaware, weighing in at 185 pounds, a high official who's been sucking off the public tit his whole life, and any others he could touch, Sleepy Joe, the nice old guy who couldn't hurt a fly. A man who put more African Americans in jail than Obama. A man with a track record of voting for, pushing for, and instigating war his entire political career. A mass murderer by any other name. He'll kill anybody, anywhere, at any time. Don't mess with him. Others did, and they're dead. Hussein and Gaddafi, to name a few. An official warmonger. He has an astonished, unblemished track record of supporting wars and helping to start them. Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen, to just name a few. So bloodthirsty and vicious that for those who he can't kill himself, he'll send others to do his killing. That's one of them. Yep. Wearing the red, white, and blue trunks. Whoops. Hold on. I lost my place here. Wearing the red, white, and blue trunks. Let's have a rousing round of applause for the challenger in the championship fight, the greatest freak show on earth. Here he is, Joe the Rotten Scumbag Biden. And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the other corner, weighing in at just 300 pounds, born on third base and thought he had a home run, a man who never met a dirty deal he couldn't welch on, a contractor he couldn't screw, or a breast he couldn't molest. A greedy boy who greases the system to grease himself. That bombastic big mouth who beat the draft with bone spurs. Who now boasts he's locked and loaded for war. America's #1 reality show champ. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a patriotic salute to the undefeated world champion of the greatest freak show on earth, Dirty Dealer Donald the Lying Bastard Trump. All right, that's what it is. That's how a Trends Journal's opening. So, and seated ringside, let's pay tribute to the illustrious members of the prostitute corps, the media whores who get paid to put out by their Washington and corporate pimps. They're all here: CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CBS, NPR, Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the rest of America's junk news media, spewing the party line propaganda for the junk food addicted culture to swallow.
What's your overall global view?
The China issues I really made clear already is China's going to take over the world, and we have to protect ourselves. And that by doing that, we have to bring back each country's system of freedom and democracy and independence. And we have to stop letting these big groups run and ruin our lives. Who's anybody to tell you how to live your life when you look at the way they live theirs? So that's, all the details are there. I read it in the introduction of the Trends Journal. And this presidential reality show, it's begun. It's the Repulsivekins versus the Democrats. The two murderous gangs of thieves run by liars, cowards, freaks, and fools, better known as the White Shoe Boy Mafia. They steal all the money they can and will kill anybody anywhere in the world to get it. There's this impeachment crusade that will go on from now to Election Day 2020. It's just going to distract attention from critical socioeconomic and geopolitical current events that are forming future trends. So those that tuned into the mainstream news and stay tuned in will get even dumber. So these other issues, they're clear. Is Hong Kong a issue? I just said, earlier, that, what do you think China, you just tell this parade. They showed, hey, look, this is what we got. I'm a fighter. I'm a close combat practitioner. I used to have my own school for many years. I know what the fight is, and I know how not to want to get into one. Because you get in a fight, in a real fight, somebody's going to die. And these people keep getting us into these fights, and they're killing millions. It's costing us trillions. So we have a very serious situation going on here. It's a world power play. Politicians are power-hungry freaks, and they all want to rule. So the only way we're going to have independence and freedom is when we rule ourselves. We're all responsible for our own lives. I want laws for everybody to obey them, but these cats get a free ride. Like I said earlier, George W. Bush, a mass murderer by any other name. Everyone knew that was smart and tied into information, that Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda. And all the liars that helped sell it. That little Colin Powell, you know why they call him Colin? Because crap goes down through the colon, and then he held it up at the UN. Here's the proof. Here's the proof. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction, ties to Al-Qaeda. So these are the people you have running and ruining your lives. Murderers and thieves. And that's all this is. So what I'm urging everyone to do is to really step forward with courage and dignity and morality and elegance to turn this around. Because I don't know one of them out there that could tell me what to do. Not face to face or man to man or woman to woman. Black, white, green, yellow, you name it. I was not put on this earth to take orders from murderers and thieves. If you were, don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. Yeah, vote for one of the murderers and thieves parties in your country that are running it.
What's the latest on Occupy Peace?
We need money. It's very hard to raise money for peace. If the people don't put their money where their heart is, we can't move forward with it. And we know, it's my movement. I know I could change this with peace. All right, what would you rather do? Come on over for a great time. Oh, we just had a great Occupy Peace party, actually, in the Crown Garden on the most historic Four Corners in America 2 weeks ago. And it was a perfect Saturday. I had a 4-piece jazz band out there, green palette, a vegan and organic food truck out there for all the guests. Had it in the garden. It was a perfect day. So that's what we're doing for peace. But, we need some real money out there. So anybody listening, send a buck. Send what you can. Send what you want. We could change this. I mean, I'll go up against any of them. Man to man, poof, bring them on. We need peace. You asked what's happening with Occupy Peace. We just had a great Occupy Peace party. So we want to have Occupy Peace festivals. We want to have them all over the world. Having great times, great food, great spirit. And no, I don't need all these cops out there to frisk me when I walk in. One of the trends that I wrote about a little while ago at the end of August, the day the music died, and it was about how they couldn't do the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. And I know the people involved, Michael Lang. I'm only 15 minutes from Woodstock. And you read about Woodstock. I didn't go. I wasn't smart enough back then. I was the age to go, but I wasn't hip enough. And, here, 250,000 young kids, I'm out of my mind at that age, 19, 20 years old, And here they are, totally whacked out, wild time. Not one fight, not one cop. Not frisking you up, going through all your stuff. The day the music died. And so they didn't renew it. That old spirit is dead. And if we don't lift that spirit to a higher level, we're going to go down. And that's what Occupy Peace is about. We want to lift the spirit. I'm here for a great time. And I don't know if it was Jesus, Muhammad, or Buddha, but one of them said, you better boogie before the lights go out because tomorrow is iffy. So that's what Occupy Peace is. We want to have a boogieing time before the lights go out. And we're not going to have it as long as you got a bunch of sick son of a bitches and a 6 daughters of bastards that are running and ruining the countries. So that's why Occupy Peace needs to move forward if you want to boogie before the lights go out.
Gerald, how can people find out more about the Trends Journal?
TrendsJournal.com, TrendsJournal.com, and www.occupypeace.com.
Gerald, thank you so much for being on This Week in Money.
Okay, thank you.
My guest has been Gerald Celente, publisher of thetrendsjournal.com. He was speaking to us from historic Kingston, New York. And that wraps up our show for this week. We'd like to thank our guests, Ross Clark, Josef Schachter, Gerald Celente, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions for the show or our guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Now stand by for a company showcase update from American Manganese CEO and President Larry Reaugh. We'll be back next week with more This Week in Money.
Comments made on This Week in Money are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com. This Week in Money is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated. Executive producer is Tom Allen. Welcome to Company Showcase, an advertising feature on HoweStreet.com.
I'm Jim Goddard. I'm speaking with Larry Reaugh, CEO and President of American Manganese. Welcome back to the show, Larry.
Thank you, Jim.
Larry, you just put out a news release earlier in the week. What was in it?
Well, we talked about finally getting started on some cathode material that was been sent to us by actually 3 or 4 different companies, 2 of which were Pure One battery manufacturers, and we've started work on them. I'm hoping that maybe next week we'll have some news, and we can go on from there. But this is a big feather in our cap, and that takes me on to other things. Once these people receive this news, we won't be doing free testing for everybody anymore. They'll have to pay for it, and in most cases we'll insist that that we allow to use the name of the company that we're testing for, and because that's a big thing for a small company, and we can't afford to pack the loads of doing testing for any of their feasibility work. So everybody else charges, and I don't think there's any shame in getting us to test their material, so why not allow us to use their names? That said and done, there's a lot of stuff happening in the recycling field. You'll see that more and more companies are talking about recycling, and but I think there's specifically a couple of areas. One that I really want to touch on, and that's 2 recent announcements of 2 companies that are going to be joining forces to recycle batteries. And so let's talk about one. One was out of South Korea. We'll have that attached, and they're talking about like it's just an everyday thing that you can recycle batteries. The others from the chemical engineer, and it's Aramet, BASF, and SUEZ have partnered. This one catches my attention because I know that when Hatch was doing work for Aramet on their Gabon project, they used to be in touch with us on our manganese project in Arizona at the same time, and we were, giving them some information that obviously, I think at that time we had our patents for that, so they could see what was in them. And but Aramet is heavy in the manganese business, heavy in the metallurgical side of it and everything else. So I think this company probably has a opportunity to develop a process. But what I want to point out is that our process was many years in the making, 80 years with the U.S. Bureau of Mines, and then several years with testing the manganese, and now 3.5 years with our cathode materials. So it's not like we just came out overnight and said we're going to recycle batteries. It was we had a foundation to build from, and I think with the patents we have, we're well protected, and we've got the best process out there.
And for the tens of millions of batteries in the next decade that will, lots of them reaching the end of life, we will be kept as busy as possible. Doesn't mean that somebody else can't enter the business, but what I've been trying to point out to our listeners is, one, we do have patents. We have 2 patents, and we have a 3rd patent pending, and nobody legally can do the same process that we're doing. So I'm very comfortable, even though I know that the competition could be getting more sophisticated, that we have the thing nailed down, and that goes back to how we handled it. When we knew that we could, or when we thought that we could, or Cametco actually is one that thought they could recycle the battery, the cathode materials in the existing lithium-ion battery field with nickel, manganese, cobalt, and aluminum, and we knew that we had to plow ahead fast. And I think I mentioned this in a previous email. Other people had the same idea at the same time, and we've managed to nail that process down tight. And our patents went through rapidly for going through the patent office in the U.S., and that's because we had no competition other than our own process for manganese. So I'm happy to say that, and I think the shareholders should be happy that the company was prudent enough to focus on that area. Now we've got battery materials from some Tier 1 battery manufacturers, and for example, I'll give you 2 examples. One is material that was pre-shredded and sent to us, and so that will take a little more time to do because there's a lot of impurities in that. And the other was some of their rejects or some of their pre-use scrap material. So we're going to proceed on those basis, and I think this may be something of the future where companies would like to shred their own batteries and send them off to be treated. And there's not going to be a lot of places where you can do that and get the returns that we get. Now, we've had high returns, initially on the bench scale, 100%. And I think that we'll achieve close to those returns as we move through the process with our demonstration 3-ton-a-day plant. We can tighten up areas and streamline other areas, mostly tweaks and turns here and there that will improve recoveries, and we get the high purity. So you can't wipe the smile off my face right now. The market's reacting well to the release, and I see that there's a lot of speculation going on who this is for. But I'd be very surprised if a battery company doesn't, nail down a partnership. First off, why wouldn't you? You can, you build an electric car to save the environment, but you got to dispose of the batteries in a manner that also saves the environment, and we have that. We have the keys to that, and it looks like it's extremely lucrative. So why wouldn't you just add this to your battery manufacturing and nail down a deal with us? And so I think that's coming. People are going to see that there is a real big bright rainbow at the end of the road, and we are going to be there to capitalize on that. So I've attached a couple of releases from some various parts of the world on some of these things, including certainly for the 2 competitors in the recycling field. And but again, the market's telling me that they like what we're doing, and we're trading at better prices than we were a week ago. And I think once results start coming out, that's just going to compound on that. So I wish everybody a great weekend, and, I know I'm going to have a relaxing weekend. So, I'll turn it back to you, Jim.
Larry, for people new to American Manganese, what are you all about?
American Manganese is a critical metal mining company that is involved in not just mining but technologies. We developed a technology for treating low grades of manganese.
Larry, before we go, we're going to be talking with your Norman Chow. Norm, just explain to people what you do there and what kind of an update you have for us.
Well, basically, I just walked into Larry's office here, but yes, we're running the basically material that was sent from other companies using the technology that we developed, and everything is working exactly the same as what we had tested previously, so that's looking very positive. So these are quite large companies we received materials from. I think that's pretty much the only update I can really give you right now. I'm going to hand the phone back to Larry here.
Thanks, Norm. I'm sorry to interrupt this, Jim. But in answer to your last question, we're a critical metals company that's involved in mining and technology and now urban mining. And our technology has been, which is patented, has been moved over to in creating patents in the lithium-ion battery recycling area. And we've had great success in that. And we're traded on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol AMY. We're traded in the U.S. under the symbol AMYZF. And we're traded in Frankfurt under the symbol 2AM. You can go to our website at AmericanManganeseInc.com, or you can email me at lreaugh, R-E-A-U-G-H, at amymn.com. Or give us a phone call here at 778-574-4444.
Larry, thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Larry Reaugh, CEO and President of American Manganese. I'm Jim Goddard. Our conversation took place on October 4th.
Comments made on Company Showcase are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Company Showcase is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.